Hi, and welcome to Grade Gov News. Well, the President delivered his State of the Union address this week, and he promised, he vowed, and I'm going to quote, "I will direct my cabinet to come up with executive actions to reduce pollution and prepare our communities for the consequences of climate change." Do you think that's broad enough? We're going to talk a little bit about executive order, the history of executive orders and how they came about. But first, I bet you've heard of a few other names for executive orders. How about executive determinations? How about executive memorandums? Executive directives, or just plain old presidential notices. These are all forms of executive orders, and they stem from Article 2, Section 1 of our Constitution. This is where it says the president shall take care that laws are being faithfully executed. In other words, he's going to help his employees, and of course he's got over 5 million employees, those that work for the federal government. He's going to help those employees execute laws. Now, another way that he could live up to his promise to reduce pollution and prepare our communities for climate change is through proclamations. And I bet you're thinking, well, proclamations don't sound like they're that big of a deal. Well, I bet you can think of a kind of a big deal proclamation that was made years ago. How about the Emancipation Proclamation? Think of it this way. Presidential proclamations usually are directed at people that don't work for the federal government. And executive orders usually direct action to those that work for the federal government. So let's talk for just a minute about the numbers of executive orders that this president has executed to date. Well, his first 4 years, it was 168. But how about President Bush? He had 8 years, 290 executive orders. How about President Clinton? His 8 years, 363. President Bush, Daddy Bush, had 165, and Ronald Reagan in his 8 years had 380. But executive orders don't always infringe on our civil rights. They don't always create a new law or a new regulation. Executive orders can terminate executive orders, and Ronald Reagan did a fair amount of that at the beginning of his presidency. And executive orders can call for exclusions of certain laws on certain people. So they don't have to be as sweeping, and they don't have to be as severe as we've seen this president and his 168, generally speaking, his 168 executive orders. So we'll watch this. We'll see how he's going to implement the reduction of pollution as he promised, and how he's going to prepare our communities for consequences of climate change. We'll watch that. In the meantime, enjoy listening to Grade Gov Radio. You can find it archived on gradegov.com on the homepage. Just look under the radio tab. You can listen to them there. And in the meantime, have a wonderful, wonderful, blessed week. I'll talk to you real soon, so stay tuned.